So I was walking home this past Friday night after shul services. I was walking with a congregant, and he sees a car parked at a light with its lights off. So he goes over to the driver and he says, "Turn your lights on, turn your lights on." And the guy turns the lights on. So I said to him, in a nice casual way, I said, if that driver is Jewish, you just did a sin. Because what happened is you now caused a Jew to turn his lights on Shabbat. So it's a violation of Shabbat. So he says to me, yeah, but what if the guy would be driving without his lights on? And there'd be a pedestrian who won't see him and he'll kill her. So it's better that he sinned with this sin than he sins with killing somebody. So it's a good debate. It's a good question. And I leave that up to you guys. If you have any answers for that, let me know. But, sinning got me thinking. There's actually 3 sins that it says in the Talmud a person is not saved from. Every day we sin with these sins. The first one is iyun tefillah, when you're trying to focus on your prayers. So very often your mind just drifts. The latest stock market, the latest politics. You're trying to pray to God and your mind just kind of drifts. That's one sin. Hirhur avira, thinking about committing a sin, just the thought about it is already a sin. And sometimes in a way it's even worse than actually doing the sin. And the third one is gossip. Gossip, which we talk about in this week's Torah portion. You see, when it comes to temptations, there's like kind of a limit to how much temptation. Let's just say you enjoy a movie. Let's just say, you watch 1 movie, 2 movies, 3 movies, but there's a limit to how much you can endure. But when it comes to gossip, human beings have this innate enjoyment, sitting, drinking coffee or a beer and just talking about everybody, anything they've done, who's buying this building, who's getting divorced, who's getting married, who's having children, who bought a new car. We just love to talk about other people. And there's 2 types of this kind of talk. One is called lashon hara, which is slander. Slander means you generally talking about somebody and something negative, something bad. And that is absolutely forbidden, shaming, especially in today's day and age with WhatsApp. Oh my God, this is like easy stuff. But this is something dangerous and completely forbidden. But the second type of thing is called rechilut. Rechilut means just gossip. Just talking about who has a new car, who has a new baby, who has a new child, just talking about other people is considered gossip and it's forbidden. Like, for example, when Miriam, Moses' sister, heard that Moses had separated from his wife because he was a prophet, it says that she called a family meeting. She went to Aharon. She was the older sister. Aaron was the younger brother. Moses was even younger. And she convened a family meeting and she says, Moses, how do you separate from your wife? Right? And she said it in the presence of Aaron. Now Moses didn't think this is bad or something bad. It wasn't like lashon hara, but for this she was punished with leprosy. The punishment is leprosy. That means a kohen, somebody who's filled with love, has to come to your house to look at your white patch of leprosy that you have in you and diagnose you. Yes, you have leprosy, and now you're going to be banished from the camp for a week. That is your punishment. And that's what happened to Miriam. And my question today is, what is so bad with speaking gossip? I actually enjoy it. And there's 2 things that are bad with this thing. The first thing is the commandment, lo telech rachil be'amecha, don't talk gossip. Gossip is followed by lo ta'amod al dam recha, which means don't shed blood. Because this could lead to shedding blood, as an example given with a famous story. King David. King David became more popular than King Shaul. How did that happen? There was an enemy of the Jews. The Plishtim were led by Goliath. Goliath was a giant, a massive, enormous person who was his second or third cousin of King David. And every morning and every night, when the Jews say the Shema, the Bible tells us that he would stand and he would say, "Send me a fighter to fight against you. And if your fighter wins, all of us Plishtim will be your servants. And if I defeat your fighter, then you will be our servants." And every day for 40 days, he taunted the Jews, specifically at the time that they say Shema. And the Jews had nobody. Until finally David, who was a young shepherd, who was a nobody, he wasn't even a proper soldier, came and said, "I'm going to fight him." Now the chances, the odds of David defeating Goliath was 0. He had no chance. 0 chance. By natural means, 0 chance. But a Jew is not governed by the laws of nature. There's a God in the world. The Almighty God, He is the one who dictates who will win and He's the one who helps us. So King David didn't even go with a sword. He went with a stone, a couple of stones. Goliath said, are you coming am I a dog? Did you come to throw stones at me? But King David had the faith in God. And he took one stone, threw it at Goliath's forehead, it fell down, and he chopped off his head, and they won the war. But because of this, King David became more popular than King Shaul. Shaul gave him his daughter Michal to marry, but King Shaul started chasing David, wanted to kill him. And at one point, Doeg, a man by the name of Doeg, went and told innocent gossip to the king. He said that there's a man called Achimelech, who's a Kohen, who fed David. He gave him food. It's pretty innocent. He's just talking gossip. Nothing wrong. King Shaul became enraged, and he went to that Achimelech. He killed him, as well as 85 Kohanim that were living in Nov, all because of the gossip of Doeg. And from here the Torah says, this is one example of blood that is shed through gossip. Another example, even modern day example, was when the Second Lebanon War broke out because of Goldwasser and Regev. May God avenge their blood. They were kidnapped, they were murdered. Later on, they were released in exchange, their bodies. But the chief of staff then did something which the newspaper Ma'ariv at the end of the war wrote a massive article. It became a big scandal that the chiefs of staff didn't recover. Till today, he didn't recover from that. What happened is, before the war broke out, the chief of staff called bank discount, his bank, and he said, sell all my shares, or sell a lot of my shares. And the paper Ma'ariv published the scoop. Innocent gossip. The chief of staff never recovered. He actually sued that bank for 700,000 shekels. And the bank did a polygraph on all its employees. Who was the one who revealed to the press that this guy sold his shares? You're about to start a war. The chief of staff knew there's going to be a war and the stocks are going to fall, so he sold them and he didn't lose money. So they did a polygraph and everybody passed. Nobody lied. It turns out that there was one bank teller who was speaking to her friend, another bank teller, and they were saying, oh, did you hear today the chief of staff selling his things? We must be in imminent war. And there was a customer who overheard that. And the customer was the one who leaked the story to the press. And because of that gossip, the chief of staff suffered till today. So that is how innocent gossip can lead to literally shedding blood. But there's another answer as well, another reason why this is so terrible. And that is because we are what we speak. What is it that makes you tick? What is it that makes you go through your day? Who are you in your essence? When you talk by your lunch break and by your supper break about who bought the latest building, about who sold the latest building, about who bought a new Ferrari, about who sold a Lamborghini, about who has a child, about who sold their stocks, about who's making money, about who's losing money, about politics. This is your life. This is who you are. And what we're supposed to be is spiritual beings. We have the whole Torah. You want to talk by your lunch break, speak words of Torah. You want to speak at your dinner break, speak words of the Bible. Speak about the Messiah coming. Speak about all the good that's going to happen when Mashiach comes. Tell over a beautiful story with an encouraging, positive words at the end. But if you're speaking gossip all day long, this reflects on your essence. Who are you in your essence? We're only here for 70, 80, 90 years and we die. We go back to the next world. So let's make use of our time in this world for the best. There's one country that had more Jews in it after Second World War than before the World War, right? It wasn't France, it wasn't Germany, it wasn't Austria. One country, and that is Albania. Albania, before the war, had 200 Jews. After the war, 2,000 Jews. The Albanians refused Hitler's request to give him the Jews. And they made it easy for Jews to emigrate into its country. What's special, what's unique about Albania? So I once read, they have this word called Besa. Besa means if you say something, you do it. You have to be a man of your word. You shake on something, you shake on a deal, I abide by my word. Generations of human beings grew up with Besa, that whatever I say, I do. And therefore, this country, when it came to Second World War, were men of their word. They didn't want to give the Jews over. How incredible. The words that come out of our mouth reflect on who we are. They reflect on our essence. And the message from the gossip is, let's strive, let's make sure to every day share a few words of Torah. Take this YouTube video, share it with your friends, share it with your family. Talk to them about it, because this reflects on your essence. We only have 70, 80 years in this world. Make use of your time. Have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week, and enjoy.